Evening all, welcome back to Kicking Dust. Right, today, if all goes to plan, this is going to be released on the day that the Million Clone March begins, and I really would hope that, firstly, I could stop calling it that, because that's actually completely disrespectful, and secondly, that people are going to attend it. So this is my heartfelt plea to you now, because obviously it is the Friday the 14th, of March. Honest, it really is, bro, and I really wanted you to come play Dust with me, bros. So as I shoot down somebody's dropship, I felt a bit bad doing that. It is weird, this map, how it spawns you so close to their I guess their ground spawn, but anyway, who cares. What we're going to do today is talk about really, I guess, sort of like maybe where this game is going. And I think we do a lot of these, I know, and I think really it's good to kind of maybe look retrospectively back at them as well, because I think certainly a lot of what this game is doing is good, and I think there's a lot of really kind of good stuff coming through that I would urge others to maybe be aware of. So yes, there's problems, but there's also some good stuff as well. There's good things going on. So that's the plan today. Now, really, again, I'm fake tanking because, again, I've been called, I did smile at this, a fake tanker. And I quite like that, because apparently I'm somebody who has apparently jumped on a Fit of the Month thing, and I'm running a tank. I guess, yeah, guilty. I like tanks. I've never really railgunned myself. I'd certainly never redline railgun. My railgun capabilities are pretty low as well. So, you know, not the best in the world. So as I lose my tank, there we go, fake tanker right away. You can see, you know, the AI in this game is deadly. So God help us when drones have AI and they come at us, bro. But I think it's going to be fun. Anyway, so I think a lot of the issues currently that people are experiencing are vehicles. And vehicles necessarily aren't going to change in 1.8 at all. Which is worthy of discussion, because I think at the moment one of the biggest frustrations I've certainly had with the game has been drop shipping. I do like drop shipping. I think it's fun. It's quite a challenge, I must admit. But obviously having redline railgun tanks moderates our ability to do that. So you need to be aware of that, because obviously the problem is always going to be that there's going to be a counter to something. And I hear when people talk about like redline railgunning tanks, you know, if they get nerfed, then dropships are going to be very powerful. I hear you, bro. I kind of maybe even agree with you that they're going to be very good. So I think there has to be kind of a balancing act done with that maybe reduces the damage they do, maybe changes the role they have. I don't know. I'm not proposing any of this. I think at the moment, you know, the problem is that there's always going to be something that's stronger than the other, the Fit of the Month, effectively. And I think that is always going to be a problem across the board. And I don't think there's not a fix to any of that, really, at all. So I guess what we just need to do is find a balance that kind of is acceptable. And again, that is not really balanced, but there needs to be something in there that just makes life a bit easier for everybody. Dropshippers have a hell of a hard time, I must admit, and I've seen it and I experienced it firsthand. Tanks are pretty good. They're pretty powerful. So, you know, it's always a fun thing to run tanks. As you can see, I'm running one here. And I'm being that guy that just sits in a blaster tank right on the point, just because, again, we're fighting a good team. You know, it kind of needed a brick, and that's with a B, not a P, just so you're very clear. And I don't know, who knows? I mean, I guess you can see, like, yeah, as Gaz gets completely railgunned, then that kind of sucked. But again, maybe it just becomes part of the way that this is just going to be now. I don't know. I have no thoughts on this. A lot of people have been moaning about, obviously, the problem with 1.8 suit changes as well. So let's address that, because the challenge really here is that by not changing the equipment and the weaponry loadout, you're going to have people who maybe would want to run an Amar Scout, for example, but don't have armor tanking skills. And that's a good point. That's a very good point, well made, to the people who've come at me with that, because you are right, that is an issue. But I think, you know, where do you draw the line? You know, where do you kind of also protect the player from themselves as well? Because what commonly happens is that, I mean, I saw this with the last major respec they did, is everybody went Caldari Logi and everybody went Assault Rifle, and it just felt like a bad idea doing that, because all of a sudden, almost overnight, Proto was everywhere. And there's nothing particularly, I guess, wrong with that, but it does mean, it's a shame because you all of a sudden enable so many people just to go with a fit that they think will be brilliant forever. And then they're the ones that moan when the respec comes around again. And it's like, to be honest, I would actually be quite heartless with this and say Eve is never had a respec and nor should it ever have one. I think your investment in the game is based on a time and consideration of skill points. And if you make a mistake, like I have multiple times, then you should just have to live with that mistake. This there's too many times people are given a second chance, I think, on these things. So yeah, it's going to suck. If I move to Galante Scout, for example, which is something I'm considering, then I'm screwed because I only have like armor level 3, I think. So, but I don't mind because at the end of the day, that's my investment. That's the downside to something that you're being given for free anyway. So chill, dudes, chill. They've made their call. The CPM probably right on this one, I think. And I think we do need to be protected from ourselves, because if they gave you a complete respec, people would just respec railgun tanks, and then they'd respec whatever, and then that gets nerfed, and then there's a call again for a respec, and it's like it needs to stop. People need to understand that it doesn't matter if you haven't got prototype. You don't have to run prototype all the time. You don't have to. It's not a fitting club. You should just basically do what you got to do, and I think sometimes people forget that, perhaps. But I don't know. We'll see. I think it's going to be a tricky one. I don't think there's a real best answer for anyone here. Look at that. Come at me, bro, with your little railgun tank. Yeah, that's what you get. Oh god, what am I on about? Anyway, so I think just generally, let's see how it goes. They've made the call, that's it. We can't change it, deal with it. And I think, to be honest with you, most of us will just be okay with it. I think a few people will be a bit gutted. I'm probably one of them, maybe, because I would love to have completely respec'd across to armor, away from shield, because I don't really think shield is very good personally. But again, that's just the way it is. I'm not going to cry about it. I'm not going to, it's not spilt milk, bro. It's just, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter at the end of the day. Certain things do matter, though, and I think the issue I would say with Logis is a surprising one to me, because I think they're making Logis very role specific. So Amar Logis get a bonus to drop pads, Mimitar obviously have a bonus to repping, and so on. And I think, the Kaldaris having a bonus to just nano hives seems pretty harsh, if I'm honest with you. And I think I'm surprised they've done that. I would have made, the whole point of Logi is the logistical capability of that suit. And I personally would have made it so all of the Logis can do all of the equipment, and it's up to you how you specialize. To me, it's like saying basically the Amar Empire, the only thing they consider important is getting more drop pads in. It's not good sci-fi. That's not good narrative there. They've just created a system that maybe says, right, if you want to actually run a proper rep suit, you have to go with Mimitar. You don't have to. Let's be clear on that point. You don't actually have to, but you're kind of going to be at disadvantage if you're not. So I have a problem with that. I really don't like the way that they do that. I would have just made it so that it's a bit easier to get into to lodging in any format whatsoever. To me, it doesn't really matter. I think it's all kind of moot, let's say. But I can see Logi bros really not having a good time of it when this change comes. And I can even see a lot of people maybe speccing out of Logi suits. But you're then stuck with millions of skill points in things like repping tools that you'll never use again. Welcome to my Flaylock dilemma, bros, because that's exactly what I have as well. It's shit gun. I've got millions of points in it, and I never use it. Well, that sucks. That's just the way life is. Sorry, got to deal with it. I really do. I make myself very unpopular by saying that, but at the end of the day, I think it's just the way it is. I've got like millions of points in assault rifle. Never even pick one up anymore. And I think, if you start respecing that, I'd probably have a benefit from it, but I just think at some point there has to be something that just says, no, you can't keep shuffling the deck. Just commit to something, for God's sake. And I think that maybe is, to me, that's probably the right way to do it. We'll see how this goes. I don't see any bad sides to this. I think it's just the way it is. A lot of people, I think, get very ragey at CCP because they think in some weird way that they have the right to tell the game developers of this game what they can and can't do. And I think that is a balance that also I think needs to be readdressed. And I think when CPM1 is elected, that's the first thing I would propose to them, that they should really start to manage the community better, that yes, they're important, they're essential, but the game is developed by, but not by consensus entirely. It is developed by good, logical, rational thought. And I think too many people at the moment feel that they have the right to decide what happens here and there. And it's like, no offense, but I think the vast majority of people are quite happy with X, Y, and Z, and they don't care. So the fact that it bothers you so much is a fleeting matter. If you can't use your, I don't know, your give me an example. If you can't use your flaylock anymore, good example, there's no point crying about it, because at the end of the day, they've made that gun balanced. And the same is going to happen with Logi suits and Logi, stuff. The same is going to happen probably across the board for everything. So, you guys enjoying your combat rifles and your rail rifles, you're probably going to get screwed over at some point. So I think, you just have to accept that that's the way this game is. It is a very much an imbalanced game, but that's maybe also kind of its charm, because you can beat other people with your knowledge of it. Oh, so there we go. And then again, bit of a kind of negative one, I guess. I just don't want people to kind of get really upset that they can't change the game, massively. And I think you just have to sometimes, take it, roll with the punches, bro. So roll with the punches. Hope you enjoyed that. We'll see you next time.